Jimmy Donaldson, known to the world as MrBeast, was never handed success. He was just a skinny kid growing up in Greenville, North Carolina, living in an ordinary house and dreaming of doing something extraordinary. From a young age, he felt restless. He knew he didn't want a regular job or a safe path. He wanted to build something that would matter to millions of people. When Jimmy first started making videos, he was only 12 years old. He didn't have fancy equipment. He recorded on a cheap laptop and used a borrowed microphone. Most of his early videos got only a handful of views. Sometimes there were more dislikes than likes. People mocked him online. Even his friends didn't think YouTube could ever be a real career. But he didn't care. He kept uploading. Every day after school, Jimmy would race home to watch YouTube tutorials and study successful channels. He took notes about thumbnails, titles, and trends. He read everything he could find about how the YouTube algorithm worked. At night, he would stay awake, worrying whether all the hours he spent in front of the computer would ever pay off. By the time he was in high school, Jimmy was obsessed. He skipped parties and sports. Instead, he filmed hundreds of videos, commentaries, reaction clips, experiments. He sacrificed his social life and ignored people who told him he was wasting his time. When he finally started to get a little attention, it wasn't because of flashy editing or perfect production. It was because he did something nobody else would. He filmed himself counting to 100,000. It took more than 40 hours. He nearly lost his voice and almost passed out, but he finished it. That video was the start of everything. Even then, the struggle didn't end. Jimmy barely made any money from YouTube ads. He worried about how he would afford bigger projects. He still lived with his mom, working from his bedroom, and every dollar he earned went right back into making videos. Sometimes he didn't even have enough to cover expenses, but he was willing to risk everything. He dropped out of college after only 2 weeks. His mom was devastated and terrified he'd thrown away his future. But Jimmy believed that if he could focus fully on YouTube, he'd eventually break through. Slowly, the channel began to grow. Instead of spending money on himself, he poured it into giveaways. $1,000, then $10,000, then hundreds of thousands of dollars. He was determined to use his success to help other people, even when it meant he was always one video away from losing everything. Jimmy built a small team of friends who believed in him. They filmed long days and sleepless nights. They worried about running out of ideas or the algorithm changing overnight. They fought exhaustion, burnout, and constant pressure, but they never stopped working. Finally, the sacrifices paid off. His videos started trending around the world. Millions subscribed to watch the challenges,